Thanks for tuning in to our show today. We have a great one lined up for you. Prime Minister Andrew Holness met with global leaders on climate change. We also share pertinent information on how farmers may access the Sagicor insurance plan. This is Jamaica Magazine and I'm Adrian Atkinson. The show begins right now.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, April 27. More than $2 billion in foreign and local investments is slated for the tourism industry within the next 2 years. These investments consist of approximately 7,000 new hotel rooms, which will generate about 20,000 new full and part-time jobs. 2,000 hotel rooms are to be developed in Westmoreland by the Princess Hotels Group at a cost of $580 million. Further investments are scheduled for St. Anne, with the development of 2,650 hotel rooms, costing approximately $650 million. These were disclosed by Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett during his sectoral presentation recently.
Investment climate for tourism is positive. Madam Speaker, our goal to dramatically increase the number of hotel rooms is still on track. And I can safely say that 90% of the planned investment are still on target.
Other scheduled developments include the H10 Group's construction of an additional 440 rooms in Trelawney, 300 rooms to be completed at the Wyndham Kingston Hotel, 168 rooms at the Rock Hotel, also in Kingston, and a further 75 at Sandals Negril. These engagements are in addition to the $7.5 billion Harmony Cove development in Trelawney, scheduled to begin in the current fiscal year. Still on tourism, talks to strengthen partnerships between Jamaica and Latin American countries could be finalized this week. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is currently in Mexico meeting with leaders from the Dominican Republic, Panama, Costa Rica and the host country. The ministry says the discussions seek to push forward plans for the implementation of a multi-destination program between the countries. While in Mexico, Mr. Bartlett will also participate in the World Travel and Tourism Council WTTC Global Summit 2021. The focus of the summit is exploring the challenges ahead and providing a platform for the recovery of the sector. The event will enable a collective representation and decision by the WTTC regarding the level of support to be provided to volcano-affected St. Vincent and the Grenadines. WTTC's annual Global Summit is the most influential travel and tourism event on the calendar, where the highest-level industry leaders meet with key government representatives to take action on the biggest and most important issues across the international agenda. Minister Bartlett is scheduled to return to the island on Wednesday. In other news, Jamaica has received another 55,200 doses of the COVID-19 AstraZeneca vaccine through the COVAX facility. The shipment arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport on Monday. It was organized by the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO. After accepting the shipment, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said this batch of vaccines would be used to inoculate persons who were due for their second shot in May.
Because of where we are in the vaccine program, we now have to begin the second phase, which is to inoculate or vaccinate the 39 plus, say 40,000 persons that would be due for their second shot in the month of May, starting somewhere around the 5th or 6th of May.
Minister Tufton is encouraging persons with second dose appointments in May to come out on their scheduled dates. He says once the 40,000 vaccines for second dose appointments are reserved, the remaining 15,200 plus another 11,800 already in stock will be available for first dose vaccination by appointment. This will be open to persons 60 years and older, healthcare workers, law enforcement and other sectors that are scheduled.
COVAX has committed a May shipment, and we hope that that May shipment will be more than the 55,200 that we've gotten this time around. And so we will give better particulars on that when the time comes.
Meanwhile, the health minister is assuring the public that the COVID-19 virus is not in the vaccine.
There's a view that somehow the vaccine gives you COVID, and you are going to therefore have the risk of suffering and even having the ultimate demise. The vaccine does not have the virus. It doesn't. So there's no way that the vaccine is going to create the virus in you.
Dr. Tufton says it's important to note that upon receiving the first dose, it takes between 21 to 28 days for the vaccine to take effect. Therefore, if persons don't continue to wear masks, sanitize or wash hands and social distance, they expose themselves to still contracting the virus. He also emphasizes that the level of protection from the first dose diminishes with time. Therefore, delaying the second dose is not a smart decision.
Having had the first dose of a 2-dose treatment, you will immediately, after the 3 or so weeks when the vaccine takes effect, you have about a 76%, I'm told, protection in the first month after the first dose, but then that decreases over 120-day period to as low as 30%, which means you still are at a risk, and that risk becomes greater over a 3-month period until you get the second dose, which then brings you back up and gives you additional protection.
The Registrar General's Department, RGD, says approximately 70% of its services are now available to the public online. Chief Executive Officer Charlton McFarlane says the agency is looking at other services that can be offered online.
Last year, we would have spent a lot of time and doubled the number of online services that we were offering. Right, and that moved us just to about 70% of services.
Mr. McFarlane says the RGD is also working on expanding the delivery options for same-day and next-day services. Currently, these services only benefit customers who have been issued with a computer-generated certificate. And finally, within a few weeks' time, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport will be introducing a program that targets intimate partner violence. Portfolio Minister Olivia Grange says the Bureau of Gender Affairs will be implementing the Refocus Perpetrators Program with support from the Ministries of Justice and National Security.
Through the Refocus program, we will endeavor to reduce incidents of intimate partner violence by providing conflict resolution training and counseling.
According to Minister Grange, the program is one of several measures being implemented by government to find urgent solutions to the recurring acts of violence against men and women in society. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
The numbers keep climbing, and yet some of you are still complaining about curfew times. Is that being selfish, or are you being smart? You continue to blame the government, stating they are not doing enough. But the big question is, are you doing your part to help decrease the spread? The unfortunate reality is that far too many people refuse to take the coronavirus pandemic seriously until they or someone they love gets infected. Now, this is what we do not want, and I don't believe I can stress this enough. Wear your mask, sanitize. Of course, we love to hug and socialize, but just ease off some of that right now. Not just for your safety, but also for others. It looks hard for your relatives to be home doing all they need to in order not to catch the virus, and you out on the road being reckless and carrying it right home to them. Each one of us needs to help during this fight against COVID-19 as we work to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business in a healthy environment.
Coming up, actions taken during the past week by Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
A call to action on climate change and measures to address gender-based violence. You're tuned to Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. Prime Minister Andrew Holness welcomed global talks on climate change last week, stating that the need for meaningful action had never been greater. Mr. Holness was participating in the virtual Leaders Summit on Climate hosted by United States President Joe Biden. The Prime Minister said Jamaica had enhanced its contribution to achieving a target of 60% reduction in emissions by 2030.
We like all small island developing states and many developing countries, remain committed to advancing climate action. And we are determined to build forward stronger, better, and greener.
Prior to Prime Minister Holness's presentation, President Biden gave a commitment to double financing to developing countries by 2024. The current annual contribution is $100 billion. Mr. Holness welcomed the announcement, but stressed that while increased financial support was critical, it would not be sufficient to address the needs of small island developing states unless it was accessible and flexible enough to target support for their vulnerabilities. As such, he outlined steps that could be taken to address hurdles.
1, the establishment of a global disaster fund to help SIDS recover and manage disaster risk. 2, the development of innovative risk-informed financing for disasters and climate events. 3, the inclusion of vulnerability measures as the prime consideration in determining access for financing rather than only income criteria. And 4, the scaling up of debt for climate adaptation swaps to simultaneously address climate crises and the systemic debt issues affecting already burdened developing countries.
Mr. Holness closed by calling on major economies to play their part towards an equitable climate financing mechanism while engaging the private sector. On Friday, the Prime Minister participated in another high-level meeting of country leaders. The Caribbean and America's Commonwealth Leaders Roundtable centered on accelerating economic recovery and sustainable markets. Prime Minister Andrew Holness addressed the Parliament last week on the vexing issues of domestic abuse and gender-based violence. He announced that 6 new domestic violence intervention centers would be opened this year in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme (UNDP). 4 such facilities are already in place at designated police stations where professional volunteers provide counseling to persons involved in domestic conflict. Mr. Holness said there were more than 1,500 referrals in 2020.
We have a duty of care to provide protection to those seeking our help, and we must respond appropriately to all reports of domestic violence.
Meanwhile, he said more than 300 supervisors and managers of the police force had been trained in domestic violence intervention since 2020, and another 168 in the last 3 months. Further to that, a national coordination unit has been established within the Community Safety Branch, which will capture data and ensure standardization and interface with external partners.
We are strengthening the existing processes and procedures for dealing with domestic violence and have instituted additional reporting and accountability measures.
The Prime Minister said training would continue under the Spotlight Initiative with nurses, police officers, personnel within the justice system, and other frontline workers. This will facilitate a fulsome understanding of gender-based violence and is part of the 2021 approved work plan for the Spotlight Initiative. And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was among several Jamaicans expressing sadness at the passing of veteran journalist and broadcaster Michael Sharp. Mr. Sharp, who was 65, died on April 20 while in hospital. In tribute, Prime Minister Holness said that for almost 40 years, Michael Sharp dedicated himself to the craft of journalism and keeping Jamaica informed. His media career spanned Television Jamaica as a news anchor, talk show host on Radio Jamaica, The Gleaner, and the Jamaica Information Service. At the time of his passing, Michael Sharp was News Operations Manager at Jamaica News Network JNN. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
Is your facility approved for COVID-19 testing? The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, through the JANAC Accreditation or Pre-Accreditation Approval Program, validates labs and point-of-care testing facilities such as medical centers. Accreditation safeguards the quality of test results and consumer well-being. Use a JANAC-accredited or PAP-approved facility for your tests, and let's defeat COVID-19 together. Contact the Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation. confirming competence, providing confidence in the marketplace.
Breaking the country's COVID-19 protocols could land you in jail or broke. Take heed and adhere to the measures, not just for your pocket, but also your health. Watch this.
These penalties do not replace the sanctions for offences that are already in the Principal Disaster Risk Management Act. Anyone who commits an offence, who is brought to the court, convicted before a resident magistrate, parish court, is still liable to the maximum fine of $1 million or to imprisonment not exceeding 1 year.
The Disaster Risk Management Amendment Act 2021 was passed in both Houses of Parliament to strengthen the enforcement of COVID-19 protocols. The bill specifies 10 levels or tiers of fixed penalties, which range from $3,000 for first-level offences to $500,000 for offences at the 10th level. There are 40 offences specified that attract these fixed penalties. Among the penalties are a $5,000 fine for not wearing a mask in a public place, refusing to comply with social distance rules, and breaching the rule governing public transportation. A $10,000 fine is to be paid by those who do not comply with the curfew order or who fail to stay at home when experiencing flu-like symptoms. Gathering in groups of more than 10, operating a gym outside of specified hours, or hosting small outdoor events are breaches that each attract a fine of $20,000. Jamaicans who fail to quarantine upon returning home from overseas will be charged $25,000, while tourists who refuse to stay inside the resilient corridor will face a $30,000 fine. Companies that do not comply with specified workplace requirements will be fined $50,000. A $50,000 fine will be meted out to persons who break quarantine after testing positive for COVID-19, and a $100,000 fine for those who conduct funerals, worship service, burials, or weddings in contravention of the Act. Bars operating outside of the times specified or operating without the necessary licenses will also be fined $100,000. Persons who operate a beach, zoo, or park outside of specified times will face a $250,000 fine. And hotels or resorts that fail to operate within the COVID-19 protocols will be fined $500,000. This fine also applies to operating a hotel or resort not licensed under the Tourist Board Act or certified by TPDCO. Nightclubs, amusement parks, or water attractions operating when ordered closed, and business process outsourcing companies which breach the protocols.
The notice also offers a chance of paying a fixed penalty for the offence within a specified period of time, failing which the notice becomes a summons to the court, a summons to appear in court to answer the charges.
I want to tell the farmers thank you, that we truly appreciate all they do. They give tremendous service and they are in fact everyday heroes. They get up and ensure that we have food on our table, and were it not for a farmer, we wouldn't be eating. So oftentimes we may take it for granted, but we want the farmers to know that we're the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, that we do not take them for granted, and we're here to support them. So we will continue to roll out our activities to support our farmers during this month and the entire year. They know that rather the AIC, the NIC, all the agencies of the ministry is there to support them, but my only message is really thank you for all you do.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries has partnered with Sagicor Bank to provide insurance packages for farmers and fisherfolk so they can be financially protected against life's uncertainties. Next, the details on this innovative initiative.
Our farmers and fisher folks are the backbone of our country. It is they, our food heroes, who toil daily to put food on our table and ensure that our economy continues to move forward even in the face of a global pandemic.
This recognition of farmers and fisherfolk's critical contributions has materialized into a program that seeks to ensure they are empowered and protected as they go about feeding the nation. Effective March 1, 2021, farmers and fisherfolk, along with their dependents, will have access to health and life insurance under the Sagicor AgriCare program. Registered farmers and fisherfolk will benefit from a group major medical plan, a full house plan, a critical illness plan, a personal accident plan, and a group life insurance plan.
This is a private sector initiative which is being facilitated by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. It is Sagicor that has crafted these benefits and premium packages, while the Government of Jamaica, through the offices of RADA and the National Fisheries Authority, will assist in the sensitization and the enrollment. Under the Group Major Medical Plan, farmers and fishers can have access to coverage for usual surgery and hospitalization, and coverage for things like chemotherapy, radiation, and dialysis. Under the Full House Plan, farmers and fishers will have access to a bundle of money that can be utilized to purchase certain primary care benefits, drugs, dental, and vision, doctor visits, and consultation.
The Sagicor AgriCare program also covers farmers and fishers who get diagnosed with certain critical illnesses, suffer an accident, or unfortunately die.
The plan and programs have been crafted in a way that are affordable and manageable, whereas Sagicor will facilitate premium payments either 4 equal quarterly payments or twice per year.
For a monthly premium of $217, farmers and fisherfolk can access $1 million under the Personal Accident Plan. The Critical Illness Plan has a coverage of $500,000 with a monthly premium of $284.10. The Group Life Insurance Plan will give coverage of $1 million for paying just $965.95 for their monthly premium. For the first 3 months of the program, interested farmers and fisherfolk can sign up without a doctor's referral form.
This health and life insurance plan is a significant step in the transformation of our agriculture and fisheries sector. Not only are we securing the health and well-being of our farmers and fisherfolk, but we are sending a clear signal to all of Jamaica that farming and fishing are valid professions. This is especially important to our youth. We want our youth to know that farming and fishing are not only important, but are lucrative and well-secured professions.
Jamaica, we are in the throes of a pandemic. COVID-19 cases are on the rise. COVID-19 related deaths are climbing. COVID-19 bed capacity at our hospitals has been maxed out. Yet still, some of us continue to flout the COVID-19 containment measures. Some of us still refuse to wear masks in public places. We still gather in groups of more than 10. We still break the curfew hours. And we still attend illegal parties. Wise up! Take responsibility for your health. Safeguard the health of your loved ones. Obey the COVID-19 protocols.
Practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently using soap and water. Here's how you should do it while conserving water. Turn on the tap to wet your hands, then turn off the pipe. Lather your hands and the tap with soap. Turn on the tap and wash your hands, back, front, and in between fingers. Use some of the water to wash off the tap, then turn it off. Dry your hands with disposable hand towels. If you don't have running water, use a hand rub containing 62% or more alcohol. If hand sanitizers are not available, rubbing alcohol, Dettol, white rum, or household bleach will do the trick. And if all else fails, let hand washing and the handling of potable water be a two-person event. Each person will take turns pouring and washing hands with sitting water. Now is a good time to consider installing a tap on your containers to reduce the risk of water contamination. Faucets can be easily attached to drums, buckets, or 5-gallon water bottles. And to ensure that the outside of the containers are clean when recapping, disinfect it with hand rub containing alcohol that's 62% or more. The 5 R's of water conservation are also necessary to practice. Reduce water wastage by investing in water-saving devices. Reuse water at least twice before discarding. Replace leaking pipes, faucets, and other plumbing equipment. Recycle wastewater and use it for gardening, car washing, or cleaning of public spaces. And reclaim water through rainwater harvesting. We all must play our part to ensure there's water to combat the coronavirus and stave off prolonged drought.
You've reached the final page of the magazine. Thanks so much for being with us on today's journey. Another Jamaica Magazine unfolds tomorrow, so come back same time on this same station. Until then, go to our website, YouTube channel, and social media pages for more informative features. While there, please subscribe to our pages and channels so you can stay in the know. I'm Adrian Atkinson, reminding you to stay home as best as you can to reduce the COVID-19 spread.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.